Hello everyone, oro wanyu, como esta, habari zenu, konnichiwa, como estas, and all the other greetings. It is Kenyan Hippie back with a new video. If you are new to my page or just came across my video today, hi, karibu, welcome. I hope you'll stick around and maybe subscribe. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much, y'all. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Today's topic, if you look at my hat, has to do with the Second Amendment, and specifically about the most recent happenings, which again are not new here. And when I say here, I mean America, especially Democrat citizen states. Unfortunately, 2 children lost their lives. So this video is about gun rights, the Second Amendment, responsibilities, and recent political talks around this subject. The Minneapolis shooter was a trans woman, 23-year-old male, who opened fire during a church service where kids were attending. All 3 guns that he used were purchased legally.
Surveillance footage at a local gun store shows Minnesota church shooter Robin Westman shopping for guns days before a deadly tragedy at a Catholic school last week. The owner of Frontiersman Sports, Corey Krause, shared the video with CNN. In the clips, the shooter could be seen browsing for ammo, testing out different guns, and smiling and laughing with staff and another customer. Krause told CNN that the shooter purchased a revolver from his store that was not used during the shooting, and that he wasn't there when Westman came in. He explained to CNN that his staff are well trained to not sell firearms or ammunition to a person if their behavior and actions raise alarms. According to Krause, his staff said Westman acted perfectly normal and didn't display red flags.
And as you've seen in the news, as the FBI is doing its research about this person, they found quite a few disturbing messages on his social media feeds and disturbing writings filled with hate, references to suicide, and obsession with mass shootings, like a foreboding.
Here's my note to my family. Wow, some English writing. Wow. Hope you can read that.
I regret being trans. That is what the Minneapolis shooter expressed in his manifesto, along with the fact that he desired to detransition before the attack. And obviously no left-wing media outlet is reporting on that because it doesn't fit their narrative, but here's the real story. The trans shooter in Minneapolis, who has been identified as Robin Westman, confessed in his manifesto that he was tired of being trans and wished he had never brainwashed himself when he transitioned. And this is what he said in his manifesto as it's been translated. I only kept the long hair because it is pretty much my last shred of being trans. I am tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself. I can't cut my hair now as it would be an embarrassing defeat, and it might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. It's just always gets in my way. I will probably chop it off on the day of the attack. But
this is being investigated as both a domestic terrorism act and a hate crime against Catholics. Recently, the DOJ, Department of Justice, has proposed potentially banning trans people from owning guns. The argument hinges on classifying gender dysphoria as a mental illness, which will potentially make them ineligible to purchase a firearm under federal law. It's important for us to be objective here. That idea has not become law yet. It would have a very long way to go before it became law. It is still just a proposal being debated. This debate is hot right now because the shooter's identity was heavily emphasized in the aftermath of this event. And even though that being transgender does not necessarily make one more susceptible to angry outbursts or erratic behavior, the vast majority of recent shooters have been transgender. Seeing as the shooter's identity has been heavily emphasized in the aftermath of this event, we can see where this is coming from. Here's a crucial fact that needs more airtime. The American Psychiatric Association, which is why I have issue with them and I don't trust them, declassified gender dysphoria as a mental illness in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, 4th edition, known as the DSM-IV. This happened years ago. This means that medically, gender dysphoria is not supposed to be treated like any other mental illness such as schizophrenia or severe depression. It is instead treated as an identity. Speaking from personal experience, as someone who values the safety of my family, but who also wants the protection of the Second Amendment to remain in place, I don't think there's any room for nuance. I personally feel that any person using antidepressants to cope or mood stabilizers, regardless of gender, should face extra scrutiny before purchasing a firearm. Medications of this kind can have a very real effect on your mental health and decision-making abilities. It can affect your judgment, your self-control, and even mood swings. I somewhat agree with the idea of restricting gun access, but I think the basis should be your current mental state and medication use, not gender identity. If someone is stable and not taking any antidepressant and psychotic medications, they should have the same rights as anyone else. To be completely honest, the shooter's diary showed a lot of confusion about their gender identity. A mix of not wanting to be trans and not feeling like a man. Because let's get real, when these kids start these processes of changing their identity and they start the castration process, the medical transition and chemical transition process, you're neither the original gender you are. You'll always be that gender, but there are chemical things happening in your brain changing the way you think. You're getting pumped with the opposite hormone, cross-sex hormones. They do a number on you. So I can see where this person was so confused. Then you feel with rage and regret because, oh, my parents allowed this to happen. My society allowed this to happen. However, at the same time, you're fighting them when they tell you no. To me, that is a sign of mental distress. Even if it does not meet the medical definition of today, that should be fixed. It's still a mental issue.
This is a call to action and a call to arms to everybody within the United States that are scared, worried, have children that are transgender, lesbian, bi, or gay. This is a call to action. You need to arm up. Plain and simple. Go out, buy a gun. Learn how to use it efficiently, through and through. Because the time to act is now. You need to protect yourself and you need to protect your fellow transgender brothers and sisters and theys and thems. You need to protect the rest of us in the LGBT community, as I'm going to do myself.
I believe gender dysphoria needs to be reclassified as a mental illness under the DSM-IV. That is my opinion as a gun owner who believes in responsible safety checks. That's not to villainize anyone, but to make sure the system is serving public safety. My final thought is that President Trump's administration is in a very tough spot right now. Republicans have always campaigned and fought for gun rights and the Second Amendment for law-abiding citizens, law-abiding Americans. But restricting the gun rights to a specific group of people based on identity when it comes to trans people is going to set a dangerous precedent and spark some legal challenges down the line. There is no easy answer, but whatever we do must be grounded in data and a real concern for safety, not just knee-jerk reactions. Let me know your thoughts below. Should mental health and medication status affect one's ability to own a gun? Are you a gun owner? How do you feel about guns? My thoughts, like I said, to wrap it up, are I don't care what gender identity you conform to. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness. It should be treated as such. These problems we're having now outside of this one issue is because it went from a mental condition to an identity. All the issues that the trans activists are pushing forth have gone as far as they've gone because of this declassification. I feel it's played a really big part in this. People who are not mentally ready to be undergoing such serious transformations, taking so many drugs to keep up this facade is causing a lot of issues outside, again, of this issue of guns. Should you restrict gun access to people like those who are taking so many drugs and are filled with hate? Yes. Do the parents also have some kind of responsibility? To some extent, yes. This is a 23-year-old legal adult. So I cannot fault the parents for that. So at that point, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. However, at the same time, you have to think about safety measures. I have an extra concern that the school was being very careless with their security. I live in a red state. I've lived in red states. I have visited blue states, and I don't like how they're set up. It's always the gun-free zones where these things happen. In the place where I live in Florida, a lot of people embrace the Second Amendment. I embrace the Second Amendment. I go nowhere without my little friend. I have taught my son about gun safety. I go to the range often. You won't find someone trying to do anything. Even in our schools are highly, highly guarded against such things. So this is a mixture of mental illness, the carelessness on the part of both the school and the parents. Because I understand it's a private school, but then why not hire guards to protect your children?
This is the thing that makes me mad about this whole scenario. Then we're going to go through what happened, and I'm going to give you the details and the updates. But what makes me mad the most about this thing is that it continues to happen, and nobody is addressing the real issue. The real issue isn't access to firearms. That's not the issue. Because this person probably shouldn't even had firearms. They can't legally buy firearms. They were the danger and a threat to others, and other people knew it, but nobody said anything. And if crazy people want to get them, they're going to get them. The question is, why don't we protect the schools so when the crazy one come there, that they'll be eliminated before doing too much damage? Why can't we create a fortress around schools, egress area, or just one entrance exit? Why can't we do that? Why can't we funnel in the school, gate it off, one way in, one way out, maximize security, one guy on the outside that's just patrolling around, one guy on the internal part of the school? That's all you need.
Public school has more security than private school. That doesn't make sense to me. What are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like this should be reclassified as a mental illness and treated as such? Or do you feel that it infringes on anyone else's rights as an American? Let me know your thoughts below in the comment section. If you've stuck around this long, I thank you and I appreciate you. I hope you're going to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell to be notified when I post, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Kenyan Hippie out.